Elijah Wood and Leonardo DiCaprio at the 1994 Oscars. Swimming instructions. Newport, Rhode Island, around 1913. A swimming class is happening at a naval training station. It's a baptism in a river, Kentucky in 1940. The German soldier is firing a gun from the back of his horse in 1939. The mummified remains of the Tolland man, who lived 2,300 years ago. Charles Atlas, also known as Angeli Siciliano, a pioneer of bodybuilding and fitness in his prime, either in the 1920s or early 1930s. King Victor Emmanuel II of Italy in the 1870s. A model's wearing a Schiaparelli raincoat. This was in Paris, October 1939. Please God, please don't let me be normal. Sigourney Weaver's high school yearbook picture, 1967. Leo Tolstoy, 1848. A Child with Roots for Hands. That's part of a picture set called Children's Dreams. It was taken in the United States by Arthur Tress in 1965. South African police are watching an African National Congress rally. Children are taunting them from the other side of the fence. This happened in South Africa, in Thokoza Township, Johannesburg, in 1991. Reagan and Gorbachev met in Red Square, Moscow in May 1988. Otabenga, a young man of the Mbuti people from the Congo, was exhibited in a human zoo in New York City in 1906. He had been purchased from African slave traders. It's a snapshot of life on the streets of New York City, capturing the energy and hustle of the city in 1954. Rowan Atkinson was at the North Community Centre in London in April 1980. Edna Tichenor as Arachnida, the human spider in Todd Browning's 1927 silent film, The Show. There was a store that sold Dr. Pepper in 1939. Axl Rose and David Bowie at the China Club. That was in Los Angeles, 1989. There was a state-sponsored memorial service for Czech victims who were killed during the United States bombing of Prague in German-occupied Czechoslovakia in February 1945. Patients in steam cabinets in 1910. Cameron Diaz, 1995. A silent movie production is happening. Western star Harry Carey confronts a villain while filming the 1916 film Love's Lariat. Universal tour guests are watching the action. Munich 1938, Warsaw 1968. Occupiers go home graffiti protesting the Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia, 1968. The Frozen Thames, London, 1894. This woman, she decided she'd prefer to be a doll herself back in 1865. The first post-war cycle train went from Los Angeles to San Diego in 1946. San Francisco after the earthquake, United States of America, April 1906. Former United States Secretary of State Henry Kissinger is giving a lecture at the Sheraton Hotel. This was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. A delegation from the Principality of Finland, which was part of the Russian Empire, refused to carry the Russian flag during the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in London in 1908. Bill Clinton and Hillary Rodham at Yale Law. Taken near the Mexican border in 1929. This mobile robot was created by Hughes Aircraft Electronic Labs. It was intended for women who needed help getting dressed back in California in 1961. There's a couple of Victorian travellers looking rather dandy taken around the 1890s. Future Prime Minister Winston Churchill and T.E. Lawrence are walking with Emir Abdullah in the garden of Government House Jerusalem during the Cairo Conference of 1921. An Inuit woman with a child, Alaska, 1947. Nurses from a field hospital who came to France from England and Egypt after 3 years of service in 1944. 1964 vintage Warner stretch bra. A Frenchman weeps as German soldiers march into the French capital, Paris, on June 14, 1940, after the Allied armies had been driven back across France. There's a tower, and it's built with barrels of alcohol that were taken away during Prohibition. Some workers are waving from the very top of it. This was happening in 1929. In 1932, 11 men are sitting on a steel beam. They're high above New York City. They're having lunch. At the exhibition Ideas for Life, there's a kitchen model. It has a 2-burner Frigidaire flare stove, and the photo was taken in New York in November of 1960. Ham, the space chimpanzee, is strapped to an acceleration stop machine in a test in 1960. A charitable Chinese man is feeding a criminal who's wearing a kang. It's from around 1905. Contestants of the world's most beautiful legs competition in 1951. Babe Ruth is posing with African-American fans in 1925. Baseball historian Bill Jenkinson said Babe Ruth was not racist. Lucille Ball, who was once called the greatest pair of legs on Broadway, is in a 1930s publicity still as a blonde. Buzz Aldrin took the first ever selfie in space in 1966. Glass factory. It's the 16th of March, 1934. You've got glass blowers at Pilkington's Glass Blowing and Stained Glass Window Factory in Hoxton, East London. They're handling sheets of plate glass using suction. The Bell Labs Videophone project in the 1960s. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, whose assassination in 1914 marked the beginning of World War I. A group photo from 1927 captures some of the greatest scientific minds in history. Included are Einstein, Curie, Planck, Schrödinger, and Bohr, all assembled for the Solvay conference. The location was Brussels in 1927. The family in Tokyo is watching the moon landing in 1969. Young students used their cars to protest integration in Little Rock High School, Arkansas, in September of 1958. Little Big Man from the Netherlands, 1904. Marlene Dietrich. Gina Lollobrigida, on the set of the film The Hunchback of Notre Dame in France, 1956. It looks like we're talking about Victorian trick photography. Some photographers created illusions using simple techniques. They used double exposures, which meant taking two pictures on the same plate. They also used combination printing, where they would combine different negatives to create one image. Another trick was to paint on the negatives. Photographers were able to make people appear to float in the air, or show someone's ghost. One photograph even depicted a person with two heads. These were common illusions. There's a portrait of two girls washing clothes in the street. This was in the Spitalfields area of East London, around 1901 or 1902. Alice Cooper is putting his face on in 1973. (1916) A Hopi Indian on his donkey stands on the edge of a high mountain. Debbie Harry, 1978. There's a group of Sisters of Mercy in the dining hall eating lunch sometime in the 1900s. There are two Inuit girls with their puppies, and this is from northern Canada in 1951. This is a combination television, radio and cocktail set from 1951. It's an image claiming to show an Ottoman official teasing Armenian starved children by showing them bread. The date given is 1915. Washington, D.C., around 1940. Gwendolyn Kafritz was the Hungarian-born wife of real estate developer Morris Kafritz. Dancer, singer and actress Julie Newmar during the Broadway production on November 15, 1956, before she hit it big. A fire engine drawn by running horses. A German army dog is jumping across a trench in France, carrying a message between outposts. It's 1915. Alright, here's what happened. Activists were picketing outside of a segregated swimming pool in Ohio during the 1960s. Aerial photography, Paris, 1950. Michael Jackson was at the Burgarten in Vienna, Austria, in June of 1988. The female hockey team, known as the Edmonton Swastikas, played in Canada in 1916. David Nivens on a water taxi in Venice. Everything But War, September 1941. Sign, Seaside, Oregon. A young businessman on the London Stock Exchange in 1937. Little Cowboy, 1935. Home economics class in New York Public School, 1910, LOC. School's Out, Bucoda, Washington, 1942. South China Sea, 1979. Aboard World Vision's ship Operation Sea Sweep, a crew member recognises one of the just rescued as his cousin. The Michelin Man? He wasn't just scary. He used to run with a group of several other musically inclined Michelin men. June 7th, 1943. United States film actor Clark Gable, who's serving as a gunnery instructor with the United States Army Air Force, somewhere in England, is manning a weapon aboard an aircraft. Inez Milholland Boisvan is getting ready to lead the suffrage parade while wearing a crown in Washington, D.C. on March 3, 1913. There's an old-fashioned playground. It has a jungle gym, a teeter-totter and a slide. A boy and a girl are playing on the slide. There's also a seesaw. Alexander Graham Bell on the right, and his assistants observe the flight of a circular tetrahedral kite. 1908. During the 1960s in France, TV show logos were physical objects. A British zookeeper is performing with an elephant, showing off circus skills. This took place in England in 1932. Marilyn Monroe is wearing a potato sack as a dress. This was after a journalist insulted her, saying she'd look better in a potato sack. This was in 1952. Jean Crane sharpens an axe while eyeing a turkey. It's a Thanksgiving classic from 1946. Kaiser Wilson. 20 million American women are not self-governed. Those are protest signs criticising President Woodrow Wilson for not keeping his 1916 election promises regarding World War I neutrality and women's suffrage. The time period was 1917 to 1918. A German soldier is looking at a magazine. This is what the boys at the front really wanted in the male World War II. Queen Elizabeth of Belgium, seated, is posing with her sisters. Standing on the left is Crown Princess Marie Gabrielle of Bavaria, and on the right is Sophie, Countess zu Thüringen-Jettenbach. This was taken sometime during the 1900s. The Cleveland Spiders team poses in 1890, capturing the spirit of early professional baseball. Cleveland, 1890. Venice, Italy, around 1900. This is one very, very, very safe example of what a baby's car seat used to look like in the 1950s and 60s. Joseph Goebbels, a German politician and Reich Minister of Propaganda of Nazi Germany. Two Marines are showing the size difference between an M1 Garand and the M24 training aid. This was sometime in the 1940s. A young mother is carrying a child on Hong Kong Island in 1946. Hungarians of Czechoslovakia welcome Hungarian soldiers with flowers after the first Vienna Award. That happened in November of 1938. Thomas Edison at the Newark Laboratory in 1870. The robot doctor device checks your health by measuring your height, weight and pulse. It gives us an early look at automated medical evaluation. That was in 1936. Girls with a tenor register brass instrument. Washington, D.C., 1928. Garden boxing, August 20th, 1934. A couple of 9-year-old boxers, Bob Bevan and Harry Hutchinson, are cooled off before the seconds out call is made in their back garden boxing ring in Poplar, East London. A nobleman, wearing ceremonial robes in Japan from 1877 to 1880. Indian athlete Louis Tawanama won a cup in 1911. Jane Fonda in Venice, 1966. The right day to hang laundry in New York, 1900. Linda Evangelista and George Michael, 1992. In 1948, a man wore 30-pound, three-toed lead shoes and stomped around a Florida beach at night. The footprints led people to believe that a 15-foot-tall penguin was roaming around. The Fat Man is on its transport carriage, with liquid asphalt sealant applied over the casing's seams. This is on Tinian Island in 1945. That's the only photograph of a living quagga, now extinct, from 1870. Beer and a cigarette during halftime of the Super Bowl final in the United States, 1967.